Happy Mardi Gras, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the special holiday bonus as I get a chance to sit down and talk to an amazing friend of mine and a very talented artist who has this unique style of artwork called Dark Academia. Frances will take us through this amazing journey of hers and what it's like being a powerful single mom, full of creativity and full of love, and who gives to her community and her community gives back. And in the spirit of Mardi Gras, les bon temps roulés. Welcome to IPA Sessions. Welcome to IPA Sessions, a podcast for independent artists. As always, I'm your host, Kay Jacob, and today I have an amazing artist on the show, a very good, dear, close friend of mine, someone who I'm really excited to have here today for a very special Mardi Gras. This is Frances DeLaune, and she is an owner of her own LLC, which is a dark academia style of multimedia and clothing and accessories. Welcome to the show, my good friend, Frances. Say hi.
Hi.
You got a lot behind you. You got your own LLC with all this cool stuff. And also, I apologize. I forgot to mention you work at a store in New Orleans, in the local New Orleans area called Boutique de Vampire. And it is taking off. It's a great little shop. You got a restaurant now, and there's soon to be an apothecary. Can you just kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and all the cool stuff that you do?
Yeah. So I make fantasy costumes. I also do light, I call it taxidermy light.
Nice.
I can't do full mounts and stuff, but I do work with a lot of entomology, the bug pieces and things. Everything is ethically sourced. That's very important to me. Most of my art started out with recycled products and stuff, just I hate throwing things away. And then I also manage, like you said, Boutique de Vampire in the Quarter. And it's been there for over 20 years. It's an amazing little shop that's just everything vampire. It's clothing, books, artwork, and almost everything is small artists. In fact, everyone who works in the shop is an artist in the shop.
Well, that's amazing.
Yeah, and we carry, I think, over 150 small artists, which is amazing because the whole store is like the size of an apartment.
Right. So if you really want to support local New Orleans artists when you're in the area visiting for the next time you go down to have a baguette and some coffee, Hit up Boutique de Vampire.
Yes, absolutely.
So, Frances, I have you here today to kind of just, in the spirit of Mardi Gras, which is coming up, and thank you for coming on, we're going to talk a little bit about Mardi Gras, what it is, especially for listeners who aren't from the Louisiana area and they want to go out and visit. And of course, it's New Orleans. It's pretty much Mardi Gras 24/7 year round.
True. Yeah, we do party year round, but carnival season is very important. It's important for many things, whether it be tradition or tourism and money for our city, because we are pretty much an entirely gig-based economy, food, artists, performers, costumers, everybody has a hustle, as
Right.
you'd like to call it, so it's super important for a lot of reasons, but and you love it and you hate it, and you got to learn how to. You have to download the parade tracker on your phone so you don't get stuck. You drive to uptown, they close the roads off. You have to call your boss. You're so I'm here for today.
I'll see you in an hour when I make it to the crowd.
Oh no, there is no hour, the day, my dude.
Got you. Okay. Closed.
Yes. Oh yeah. So you're just partying for that day, whether you planned it or not.
Hey, laissez bon temps rouler. I love it.
That's right.
Okay. So with the theme of Mardi Gras and everything, this is wonderful for your store, for the shop that you work at. Now, you sell your own products inside the same store that you manage, which is actually owned by someone else, correct? Is that how that works?
Yes. Well, I actually only sell them jewelry. I'm actually carried in several stores in New Orleans. And It's funny because each store carries different lines of my products, which is pretty funny.
I love that.
So the boutique carries, there's a lot of lore between roses and vampires. So I make these little glass cloche necklaces that have preserved roses in them.
Oh, nice.
And then I also have a bunch of large kind of witchy style earrings that I sell to them. And then I help them make some of the stuff that we already carry in the shop. All of our coffins are hand painted by the staff, and they're pretty rad. I have some.
Well, and you mentioned earlier too, the shop is full of other artists, I'm assuming, that do a similar setup to you.
Oh yes. So, and then I'm in a shop called Dark Matter that's like 2 blocks away. It's an artisan collective, but it's an oddities collective. So they carry all of my taxidermy pieces, all of my large like assembly plaques that have like antlers and birds and
Oh, that's so cool.
seed pods and shit.
I was gonna say, I really like, I saw this, it looked like a headdress you made of like flowers with like goat's ram horns coming out. And I was like, very, very cool. Like, where do you wear that headdress?
Yes, so those things kind of blend in together. So then Miette also carries pretty much all local art, and they carry my costume line, which is mainly the large headdresses and then these larger like applique lace collars that I make.
Oh, cool.
Sometimes I make masks and stuff too. It just depends on whatever I'm hyper focusing on.
Well, hey, it is Mardi Gras season, so anyone in the area that needs a mask, they know where to go.
Yes, I'm your girl.
That's right.
And if I don't make it, I know who does, and I will send you there.
There you go. I love it. Support other artists. I love it. Support local too. I love it.
Oh yeah, that's one thing that New Orleans has been just incredible about is our community. And instead of it being a competition, it's more like, oh my God, you make that cool thing? Well, I make this cool thing. We can make cool things together.
Nice.
And then, and I love it. I love it. Everybody's very supportive. And so, yeah, I'm always plugging other small shops because they're the reason that I am where I am too, you know? And my dad was always big on shopping local, even when I was a kid, you know? So I think it's really important to give back to your community. Not to say that we don't live in a capitalist society where we have to get things from wherever sometimes, but if you have the opportunity to get it small, why wouldn't you?
Plus, if you're someone who's not from New Orleans, if you're just from out of state visiting, passing through, support the local artists and get a real piece of New Orleans to take home with you.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like, and you could get something that you could never get anywhere else, and it probably will be the only one that's ever been made, which is rad.
Exactly. Now, Mardi Gras is February 21st, which is Tuesday.
Yes. So this year, it changes. Sometimes it's on like March 2nd.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible Louisiana person, and I do not know why it changes those dates, and I'm a terrible person.
It's okay. I was born and bred in Louisiana myself, and I moved out to Los Angeles, so I have no room to speak.
Yeah.
I went to the other LA.
I do know that you do not eat king cake before 12th night. That's very important.
Yes.
Just know that it's going to be straight madness for about 2 months, and you're going to make all your money for the year, and you're going to have a great time, and you're also going to hate everything.
Tell her how it is.
Simultaneously. I mean, you have to love it to live here. New Orleans is not for everyone, but I love it. I love it. And if you do love it, there's something to it. Like,
I mean, you're right. It's to me, it's kind of like a second home for a lot of people, that live in Louisiana outside of New Orleans. Go as much as you can because it's a second home. You got a lot of friends and family there. And sometimes you just want to take a weekend trip down and have a good time. That's what you do. Absolutely. And you don't have to blow all your money on Bourbon Street. Hit up Frenchman, go to the Quarter, check it out, go in the daylight hours, hit up those amazing restaurants. It's a wonderful place.
Okay. So the beauty and the curse of New Orleans is there is always something to do, and you will never have enough time.
That's right. And that's why we say let the good times roll. Laissez bon temps rouler.
That's right.
All right.
Yes.
Enough about Mardi Gras and how amazing New Orleans is. Let's talk about how amazing you are. Can you kind of just take me through your personal journey that you dealt with in getting your own LLC for this company of yours? What led you to start doing this dark academia art style with your crafts and your clothing and your accessories? What took you down that path? Tell us about your story.
Most of my art really started just because I was poor growing up and I wanted cool stuff and I did not have money, so I just learned how to make things. I did the same thing with my hair, and I guess that's what it started out with, is hair and makeup, which I did for many years. And it was like, if you wanted My Little Pony hair, I guess you better learn how to do it yourself because I didn't have money. And then I have a thing about I like giving presents. You know this. I love making stuff for people. So that was the deal. It's like I didn't have a lot of money, so I'd make people stuff for their birthdays or Christmases or whatever. And then when I moved down here, I had made something, I think for a coworker or whatever, and she was like, "Oh my God, where do you sell your stuff?" And I was like, "What?" It had never even occurred to me, I guess, that that was an option, or that anyone would want it. Yeah, and like being an artist full time was, I guess, just never, it was not something that was going to be acceptable to be as like a full time job. It's like a non-traditional job.
Yeah, you kind of thought of it like a hobby almost.
Yes, and like, because it just wasn't acceptable any other way. And then not realizing that, like, you can do that here. And so my friends were like, oh, you should do a couple of markets. And that's kind of how it started. I went and did a couple of local markets. I started with Piety Market. Cree's still running. She's amazing. And just making like little headbands and sunglasses and random stuff that I would like to wear. And let's see, I think one of the first stores to pick me up was a kawaii store.
Okay.
And they were called Kawaii Nola. Kanako, she's amazing. And I made like Lolita like bows and bonnets and sunglasses for them. I did a pop-up in front of their store a couple times.
Nice.
And then, yeah, like slowly but surely, that community network I was talking about, like you do markets, and every market you do, not only do you get to talk to other people that are making art, they'll be like, oh, did you hear about this other market? And then like shop owners that carry local. Well, like I've had several find me at a market and be like, oh my God, would you want to carry this in my store? And I'm like, you want, sure. Like,
and I know that you've been actually doing this for a long while, because I want to say it's probably been almost 10 years since the last time that I know we got to hang out in New Orleans. And I believe you created or helped out with the burlesque shows. You helped do some designs for that, right? Am I wrong? Am I remembering it wrong?
No, you're not wrong. At that point, I was doing a lot of hair and makeup and making pasties and small costume things for the burlesque and drag community, which I still do.
That's amazing.
Sometimes. Okay. I haven't done hair and makeup in a while, but I still make a lot of costume wear for them.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, you're a jack of all trades in that area. I think that's awesome. Yeah. So you got this amazing wild hair up your ass and realized that your hobby doesn't have to be a hobby. You can get paid for it. So you went about putting yourself out there.
Well, there was that too. And, I'd been working in a kitchen for so many years. And I guess don't get me wrong, I still love to cook.
You a damn good chef, and I know firsthand.
Thank you. But working on the line is hard on your body, and it's hard on your soul. It's hard on everything. And although I loved it, I knew it wasn't going to be sustainable. And I guess I hadn't thought of anything else. And then all of a sudden, here was this other opportunity of something that I could do it. And I liked it. And then also, Jareth, my son, was getting older, and he's starting to have friends and a social life, which I knew that I needed to let him go do, or we would end up some weird Norman Bates situation. I was like, he can't stay at home with you forever, Mom. Like, he needs to go.
Don't live your art, just express it.
Yeah. And so all I had identified as for many years was Mom. Just Mom.
Yeah.
And so then I was like, well, what now? And then you also tell your kids, like, with hard work, that they can have anything they can want. They can be anything they want. And to a certain degree, I do believe that's true. And here I was working this job 60 hours a week and tired and miserable and had no time for things. And I was like, how can I tell my son that he can do whatever he wants? And then I'm just like, the only way I know how to really teach anyone is to lead by example. And so I was like, you know what? I can do fairy things, and I'm going to do it. And I did. And it started out, I was still working at the restaurant 60 hours a week. I would come home from work in the studio at night, and then on Saturday and Sundays, I would go do markets. So I didn't have a day off.
Like a full-time mom, like a boss.
Yes. Oh, Jareth went to work with me. Like, he helped me set up with so many markets for years until the other artists started poaching him, which I let them do because they could pay him and Mommy could not.
You got to teach him how to make his own money at some point.
Yeah. And he was good. He's got good work ethic. So
that's amazing.
But yeah, so it was an evolution of things, a redefinition of myself, a redefinition of coping mechanisms for things.
No, I love it. It lets you know, like, it's never too late. I mean, here you were, a single mom busting your ass in the kitchen, but knowing you had this passion that was your hobby and make it your real life goal to make something bigger out of it. Sorry to interrupt you. Please continue telling us this journey of yours.
No, it's just amazing. I just happen to also be in a place that is conducive for that. New Orleans is full of artists, and that is their livelihood. And so I just happen to also be in an artist mecca where I was able to be in a spot to make that possible. That doesn't mean that it was any less hard, but far more accepting of the things I also wanted to make too.
Exactly. There you go. That's awesome. Okay, so how did you go about once you got out there? Obviously, you realized you're doing pretty well. I mean, you're making sales. People love your work. They're buying it, putting it in their homes and their businesses. What led you to decide to go ahead and make this official?
So as I have started to do larger events over time, because I just started with little market stuff, I've actually gotten to do a couple of like larger circulating type things like the Oddities and Curiosities Expo. I got to do Villain Arts Tattoo Expo. I've done a couple of times, but with a lot of the larger convention type things, you have to be a legitimate business. You can't just be a pirate. They want the papers. One of my larger goals is to end up on the Ren Fair circuit, even if it's just in the tri-state area.
That's awesome.
I just want to be a little Romani lady that goes like to all the different little. I want to do the Pirate Festival in Florida. I want to do the Texas Ren Fair in Texas. I would love to do Scarborough Fair one year. Oh my God! But you have to have the paper trail to be able to do that. So
that makes sense. Taxes, man.
Yeah.
So, what was it like trying to get your own business?
I honestly still don't know what I'm doing. I am getting a CPA this year. Apparently, like a person that does my taxes for me.
Nice.
Because that is a thing that you're supposed to do. And I am really good about filing my taxes, wildly enough.
That's fair.
But yeah, I just like did a lot of Googling, and then, to be honest, just like watched videos, and I think I have everything together that I'm supposed to have on there. I pay all the little fees and fines for the pieces of paper they give me with the numbers on them. So hopefully it's correct.
Right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that with us, because I like to talk to all my artists, especially about like any financial gains. And a lot of it is self-funding. And of course, it sounds like you had to start off self-funding, but now that you actually have your LLC and you pay taxes on stuff, so you're obviously paying still funding, but you're getting revenue now. So that's amazing. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about this awesome artwork that you make? I know for one, I'd love to talk to you about this. I'm not sure what you would call it, but it's one of those imprinted frames that has
the
stretchy frames. Yes, it has like these really beautiful images of like flowers and plants and twigs, and then you have these cool bugs and dragonflies. It's so neat.
Yes. So the wild thing about that, they're not images; those are real pressed flowers
and real pressed bugs.
Yes,
that's so cool.
Yes, so it is real bugs and plants. The pressed flowers, some of them I do myself, some of them I do buy. But they are real. The bugs are real. I have several purveyors that I like to collect most of them myself. Like, I find them in all kind of places. I keep a Tupperware in my purse for bugs.
Okay. Not weird that you keep dead bugs in your purse, but go on.
I mean, I empty the Tupperware out when I get home, but yeah, like I pick up bugs and little seed pods and random stuff all over the place, like a little goblin.
Yeah.
But the ones that I do buy, I actually make sure that I buy from people that ethically source, so that these organisms aren't being poached from their natural environment. That's super important to me.
They've naturally just passed on, and now you're giving them more life, so to speak.
Yeah, several of the butterfly places I get from, they like are in scientific programs where they breed them and they live their little bug lives, and then I'm able to purchase them afterward. Which is why sometimes like there'll be cracks in the wings or antenna missing and stuff, because they got to live their life.
I think that's beautiful. That's awesome. A true mama to the end. Still taking care.
My dad hunts and grows most of his food, and it was very important when we were kids. Like, he taught us like about the ecosystem and balances and taking care of your environment and stuff. So it's very important to me to carry that on.
Excellent. Yes, those stretchy frames are amazing pieces of art.
Thanks.
Where do you pull this creativity from? What is it in you that makes you do this whole new style, which I'd never heard of, dark academia, but I love that it has a name.
I didn't even know that it had a name.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I didn't even know it had a name. Someone told me. I just thought it was like weird hoarder of old books and cups full of bugs and bones and feathers and
Just thought it was
like
you. This art style is called Francis DeLaune.
yes, and then I met all these other people that also have intentional cobwebs and old books and cups full of bugs and bones, and I was like, it's not just me.
Yay. That's awesome.
I've learned a lot about nature, like being a part of it too, like collecting my own stuff. And I've learned a lot about the law. Oh my God. Taxidermy. There is a lot of law, which I do get to use some of that at boutique, which is rad. So we sell these shrunken heads or whatever. It's like a gag gift, but it's made out of goat skin and stuff. And people are like, oh my God, it's not real. And I'm like, Louisiana is one of 3 states you cannot own human remains with the exception of cremation and teeth. And they're like, wait, that you can't? And I'm like, yes. So, yeah, I've learned a lot about the law as far as like the collection of plants and animals, whether they be dead or not, and yeah, like
That's wild. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it makes sense.
there are so many laws about birds. Pretty much, if you see a dead bird on the ground, do not pick it up.
Yeah.
Like yeah, and it sucks because like if it's, I of course would not pick it up unless it's dead. It was funny, but like
Thank you for clarifying.
So the first multimedia piece I ever posted online, I'd put it in an oddities group, and there was a blue jay feather just like sitting in the back. I'd found it in the yard, and this girl that monitored the group, she was like, hey girl, I took your post down, you cannot have that blue jay feather. And I was like, I found it in the yard. And she was like, yes, but since it is on the Migratory Species Protection Act on that list, you can't prove that you didn't poach that feather. So it's like a federal offense.
Wow.
Like you have, and so she sent me like a big list like of laws and all
that's
these
awesome.
things for me to read. And the people in the curiosities community are very helpful, and they don't want to get shut down either.
Yeah.
So they're like, they love to teach other people. And that's kind of what really got me. That's how I learned how to do wet specimens. That's how I learned how to process bones in different ways and hides and stuff. So like, it's a community thing too. Like all the weirdos stick together, I guess.
I love it. Nice.
Well, so like when you were asking me about where does it all come from?
Yes. Yeah.
And to be honest,
Yeah. So where does this all come from, lady who carries dead things in her purse?
yeah, so what's funny is most of the time it is a very rare occasion that I go, oh, I have this thing in my head and I draw it up and then I build it and I gather the pieces. Now I do that from time to time, but most of the time there is no rhyme or reason, if we're going to be honest.
Okay.
I have lots of different elements of things that I like to work with and different things that I like to build. So I think I just collect all the pieces, and then when I'm feeling creative that day, I have to see everything. So I have like a big flower wall where everything is visible. I have all my horns and stuff like in different clear cases, and I'll be like, you know what? This flower really catches my eye today. Okay, well, what else goes with this? And then I just pull all the pieces down, and somehow it makes sense. If we're going to be really honest, a lot of times I just get really stoned, and then I glue a lot of things together.
Hey, that's how it works for most of us artists. You got to figure it out some way.
Yeah. I just like, I'll see a string of pearls and I'll be like, man, that would be really cool, like on the front of this headdress or whatever. And then I'm like, well, what goes with that? And I just literally pull a bunch of stuff down and then I just put it together. Like a lot of times there is not a rhyme or reason to it. Now, I do love commissions, however. So like when somebody is like, hey, I really want something for this ball and it's got this theme and I want these colors. I love that because it's almost like a challenge.
Yeah.
because since I don't sit down and plan things out, I'll go, okay, and then I collect all specific elements for that thing.
Yeah.
And I like that a lot too. And I do a lot of that. Prop making for photo shoots and short films and all kind of random stuff.
That's so cool. Okay. So you definitely help other artists out there and other content creators. I love that.
Yeah.
Now, with your shop that you work at, the one that you actually have your 9 to 5 with, let's say, you have your artwork in there as well, correct?
Yes,
jewelry?
I have some of my jewelry. I have jewelry.
Tell me a little bit about this jewelry you make.
So it started out with a little like glass cloche like dome necklaces. And the first ones that I made, and I still make them, I call them my fairy terrariums. And they are all filled with random little bits of things that I think that like a fairy would carry home with them. It's like snail shells and teeth and crystals and feathers and seed pods and like whatever. And then I had made some that have just dried roses in them. People really like roses. So when the shop approached me, I had started selling them the rose domes, and that's how it started. I also make some with fly traps for them now as well.
That's cool.
And then I have a whole new line that came out this year of earrings that are made out of just like little stainless steel charms, and they're all like tarot cards and evil eyes
That's
and
cool.
Ouija boards and coffins, lots of coffins and that. I love them.
It wouldn't be appropriate if it didn't have coffins.
Yeah, well, spooky girls have all the fun.
Right?
So.
Y'all do. Now, you were talking about the balls. So with Mardi Gras coming up, I know that you make masks and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is this a big time for you with your artwork? Is this a heavy time for you? You get a lot of work in. Do you have anything commissioned that you can talk about? Something exciting you'd like to share?
Yeah, it is a big time of year for me. Headdresses this time of year, of course, like Halloween sometimes, but like Mardi Gras is my headdress season. And I am proud to say that when I do certain markets, there are people that come to look specifically for my headdresses at this time. I'm finally kind of at a point where people do hit me up and email me, and they're like, "Hey, can you make this for me?" And I love that.
That's right. You're the headdress queen of New Orleans. I love it.
Oh my God. Well, and now there's so many of us though. There's a lot of different headdress makers here.
Okay.
And I love that because everybody has their own signature style. There are people that do all glitter. There are people that have, I can't even describe, like there's so many talented people here, but I can name at least a dozen other headdress makers in town, but none of our stuff looks the same.
That's amazing.
Everybody has their own signature thing that they do. And the big, like, floral, fantasy, labyrinth, dark crystal-esque headdresses that I make are my signature.
Nice. Okay. Very cool. All right. So thank you so much for sharing, this whole journey and experience of yours getting into turning your hobby into a career and making it happen for yourself. I love when I get to see artists that I get to talk to succeeding, especially when they're in the middle of that success taking off right now. Congratulations. I'm really excited for you. And again, it's Mardi Gras season, so I think you're going to do great this year. I know last year you had this really cool outfit that you made and you hid it from everyone. You finally got to take it out this year. And for those of you who don't know Frances, she is dark academia. There's nothing light and colorful about her other than her makeup sometimes, but she dressed up in this amazing outfit for what was it for? What was the occasion for?
It was for Chewbacca. It was a Mardi Gras parade.
Yeah. And it was so bright and colorful. You looked like fairy. Like you had the whole Fae thing going on, but it was like Hollywood fairy. It wasn't like Fayland folk fairy. It was like big, bright, My Little Pony looking, and it was so cool to see it. I was like, good God, who is this woman? I don't know her. Yeah. And you looked amazing. The outfit was great. The makeup, the stuff that you did. I was like, this is cool. It really pops and it stands out from a lot of your work. Was that something that you just went for fun, or were you trying something different to be out of your shell, so to speak?
I do wear color from time to time. It is a very rare occasion. I do not ever wear pastels generally, but it's so funny because one of my very best friends on this planet, Mayhemmer, she's also an artist and a cosplayer and stuff, but she is like the light to my dark. She's the pastel goth, and I'm we have matching outfits. Hers are always in pink, mine are always in black, and I love My Little Pony. And when I saw that iridescent dress come out, it looks like one of the Selkie dresses, and I want one of those. I'll have one day. Anyway, I was like, I'm going to get this dress. I was like, I'm going to make a whole pastel goth outfit just for shits and giggles. It will be fun because I can enjoy it. I like stepping outside my comfort zone. But also, I knew she'd be so proud of me. And it's just fun. Like, it's always fun. I don't get out much because I work a lot. And so I like keeping people on their toes.
Nice.
Even though I work all the time, I'm still not boring.
There you go. Never boring. Well, I really do appreciate you coming on today, sharing your artwork with us, telling us a lot about this unique stuff that you craft and make yourself. And again, I know that you are mostly local, especially in the New Orleans area. As you mentioned, there are about 6 different shops. We'll have links in the show notes for all those listeners. And for anyone out in Colorado, you have a shop, right? For anyone out there listening?
So there is a tattoo shop called Time Bomb Curiosities.
Nice. Good name.
And they have a tattoo shop and an oddity shop. Gordon Staub, amazing man. He's a tattoo artist and I'm pretty sure he owns the shop, yes. But yeah, so Time Bomb Curio and Curiosities. Yeah, and I met him through a friend and he carries my fairy terrariums.
That's so cool.
He actually has the rose terrariums for Valentine's Day right now.
Nice. Very nice. Yeah, Valentine's is coming up. It's by the time this episode comes out, it's already going to come and go. So we're all about Mardi Gras today. But I love that. Yeah. That's awesome. You have a unique gift for everyone for any holiday, for any day. I love that.
Thanks.
So I want to move into some fun questions for you. We're going to talk about all the annoying BS you've had to deal with.
Okay.
What for you has been the biggest challenge that you've had to face? You know, maybe even you're still working on this.
Yes, there are definitely things like especially when I first started out, like doing local markets and stuff, there are some days that you'll sit out there all day and you'll sell everything on your table, and there are days you'll sit out there and you don't sell one thing. And then you're just like, oh my God, I sat out here for 8 hours. I didn't even sell one thing. Is it worth it? Or is my stuff not very good? And you have all these, self-doubt. And then, and not comparing yourself to the person who sat next to you who did sell everything on their table that day. And just having to roll with the punches and learn that sometimes, and some of my stuff does better in even different neighborhoods. You just have to learn your demographic. It takes time. And so just not judging yourself too hardly, which we are usually our own worst critic. Right. So that's a lot.
Damn artists.
Yeah. And so, I try to give myself attainable goals, and I found that definitely helps. Even now, I'll set a handful of goals, and when you don't meet those goals in this time that you have given yourself, sometimes you will be like, well, I couldn't even get this done, or blah, blah, blah. And the thing is you cannot do that. You cannot do that. Everybody works at their own pace. And especially when it's hard enough being your own drill sergeant. So don't also put these time constraints on yourself and be like, if I didn't achieve this in this certain amount of time, then I'm a failure. And that's just not, especially, art is subjective. You just have to learn to let things roll off, and you have to find a way to not compare yourself to other people, whether it be their successes or the things that they make, and then you will also have people copy you sometimes. And then there's a lot of people that are in the same genre that I am, and we make a lot of similar things. It doesn't bother me at all, because I feel like there's room for all of us.
Right.
But there are people sometimes that do just try to outright copy. Now, I will say, unlike some people, if say you have a headdress that I made that you really like and you want it for yourself, but you can't afford to get it, and you make yourself one, good for you. It does not bother me at all. I get it. That's the reason I started making the art that I did. You
inspired someone. I think that's great. Yes. And that's what we're here for, to provide that inspiration for other people.
Yeah. So if you're making it for yourself, rad. I'm down for that. I get it. Send me a picture of it. I'm proud of you. But don't make it and then try to sell it. That's just dirty.
That's dirty. Well, along the terms of big challenges, I definitely can see how, again, it's always one of the biggest challenges is trying not to be too harsh on yourself. And then, of course, with the business that you're in, with your artwork, selling it, having others try to copy it, or that just happen to be similar, that could be a big challenge of trying to decide, are they copying me or are they just similar? And I like your approach where you're like, talk to me, share with me. I love that. Mm-hmm. You're like, I'm not attacking. I just want to know what's up. Where'd this come from? And then you get to share, look at me, we're on the same link, and you made a friend. I think that's wonderful.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and and if also on that other end, if you're like, oh, we make similar things, I feel like you copied me, say something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're all in this together. We're all just trying to find healthy ways to deal with our life, and don't be a keyboard warrior. Just say something.
Yeah, say something. Well, I want to know with you having the experience that you do, as we mentioned, you've been doing this artwork of yours for over 10 years now, and you've taken off. You have your LLC. You are now an entrepreneur and an artist. Has there been anything unexpected that you had to face? Maybe something that you learned in the moment right then and there.
Oh man. There's been lots of things. Most of my art, to be honest, has been a lot of trial and error. I was not formally taught how to do any of this stuff. So like, I had a buddy of mine, a photographer. She was like, "Hey, do you have any mermaid crowns? Like, I need something in black and purple." And I was like, "Oh, I have this one that I had made out of shells just sitting around." And I was like, "I could paint it, whatever, and then you could use it." And so paint is not my medium. And I have a bunch of random art supplies. And so I had this box of paint and I painted the crown. I was like, "Sweet, it's like purple, black, whatever." The next day I was like, "It's still wet." I was like, "Damn." And she was like, "Well, what kind of paint did you use?" I was like, "I don't know. It's some paint I found in this box." She was like, "Francis, that's oil paint." And I was like, "Okay." And she was like, "It's never going to dry." Like it's and I was like, "Why not?" Like it literally took almost a year for this crown to dry, by the way.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So like so there's a lot of that. I have no fingertips left after all the hot glue that I used during Mardi Gras. I have learned, don't buy the small hot glue guns at all. Like, you just get the big ones. And you can buy hot glue by the pound. I know, because I have to do it.
Oh,
wow. Always bring water when you go to the market, and food, because you will spend all your money at the market.
Yeah.
On the food vendors. Not that you'll regret it, because it's good. But, like...
I love that a hard reality for you is, like, I've just never done some of this stuff before, so I just had to be like, well, here I am. What do I do?
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Oh my. Yeah.
Throw yourself in the fire and see how you cook. I like it.
It's the only way I know how to learn. The hard way.
So everything for you is unexpected. I love that.
Yes.
And you're obviously still learning in the moment, and that's okay. That's great.
Absolutely. My dad always said, when you quit learning is when you mess up. So
get more specific with this question then. Was there anything maybe discouraging that came up for you that, you pushed through, or perhaps it was resolved, like there was nothing that could be done about it. You just had to accept this.
I don't know. I hate the finality in that statement.
I know.
Because,
that's why I ask it.
Yeah, well, no, and it makes sense. Because I try to think of everything as being like an ever evolving type deal. I can't think of a particular instance.
I'm sure you faced something discouraging, though.
Yeah, there's been plenty of discouraging things. There's people comments, especially doing the type of artwork that I do.
Yeah, what can help someone else that's going to try and do what you do? What's something that they should prepare themselves for, that to be like, this is going to happen. This is discouraging. It's going to happen. Accept it, and here's how you get through it, Oh,
I love when people, they walk past your stuff in the market and they're like, "I could make this at home." And I'm like, well, then do it.
Do it.
Or they're like, "I can't believe you charge this much for this." Like, okay, Linda, like, did you have to take time out of your day to like buy the stuff and or forage it and sit down and make it? Like,
show me your dead bug collection.
Thank you. And like, did you crawl under this house for this mummified cat, Barbara? Also, there's a lot of, especially because I use the use of bugs and or bones and stuff, you get a lot of, "Oh, that's gross. How could you do that? You're disgusting." Like, there's I had a lady, I make these little vertebrae butterfly necklaces where it's like an atlas vertebrae, and I have laminated butterfly wings that are like attached to it. So it's like a little bone and real wing butterfly.
That's some heavy duty detail too. Wow.
It's so cute. And this lady, she's like picking it up, and she was like, "Oh, well, then what kind of vertebrae is it?" I was like, "Coyote." And she was like, "Well, where'd you get it from?" I was like, "It was roadkill." And then I processed myself. And she was just like, "Ugh," and like put it down, and I'm like, clearly it's been like cleaned, obviously.
I hope.
Like you picked it up. It's like clearly not grody. Like, it's not like, But I guess just like with it being, some people are so disconnected with the outside, like as far as like nature or whatever, that they would never even think or possibly consider shoveling up a dead raccoon or a possum or whatever. Like, that's not something they've ever had to deal with or even thought about dealing with. But I will say on the flip side of that, a lot of people will be like, oh, where did you get that beetle? Or where did you get those flowers? And I'm like, oh, well, I picked those here. Or I picked that up here in City Park. Or, oh, it's along the bayou or whatever. And so now I have a lot of friends who like grew up in more of a cityscape that bring me, they're like, oh, I found this bug in the windowsill at my house. Or, oh, look at what I found like growing out of the cracks of the sidewalk. And they notice these little tiny pieces of nature that they never noticed before.
That's cool.
And so I like that. It makes the gross comments worth it.
Yeah, like, you know what? This is going to be a little punny, but it's like you're educating people with your dark academia.
I do. I
get now why they call it dark academia. It's making sense. The wheels are turning. The light bulb's clicking on for me.
I do love teaching people about nature with my art too. During the summers here, it's very slow. And one of the things I like to do is go out to the bayous and collect apple snails. Apple snails are extremely invasive and they are destroying our waterways. It's a big problem in Louisiana, Florida, anywhere that like the Everglades and stuff. And they're these beautiful animals. But they get like the size of an apple, like the size of a baseball. They only live like 18 months and they eat everything.
Dang.
So like when you go to the pet store and you get a mystery snail, it ain't a mystery. It's a fucking apple snail is what it is. And so they proliferate very quickly and people dump their fish out and, whatever. And so long story short, anyway, I collect apple snails. I pull them out of the bayous. I knock their eggs off into the water because it makes them non-viable. The birds and the fish do eat them, but they just can't keep up. So I try to do my part by pulling them out. The ones that are alive, I cannot bring myself to murder them. So I have like a little water thing in my yard. They can't escape. They're not land snails. So they live the rest of their little snail lives in this water feature in my yard. And I feed them table scraps. But the shells I use for all kind of art projects and stuff. But one of the things I like to do is I'll put a bowl of them on my table. And when I vend, I give them to little kids. And then if they're old enough or they want to know about them, then I talk to them about them and about the importance of, watching out for invasive species and stuff and how it affects our ecosystem. And then also, like parents bring their kids to the market and they're like, don't touch anything. And then it like gives them something to put in their little hands.
Oh, yeah. I have a 6-year-old. He'd love to touch snails, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
I will send him some snails.
Oh, mama, through and through is what you are. I love it.
Yeah. One of my favorite new things that I actually finally got all the pieces for, I want to make biodegradable citronella candles with the snail shells.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so that way you can use the citronella candle when you're out on the patio or whatever for the mosquitoes, our state bird. But also if you leave the shell outside or something, it's still biodegradable. Even an animal might pick it up or whatever, and it's not going to be trash. Like no trace left behind kind of deal.
That's cool. Yeah, I love that. Okay, well, I was going to ask you, you're teaching me. The question here is, what is the most valuable takeaway that you've learned from your experience? And I've just learned so many valuable things from you. I didn't know about apple snails. I'm letting down my home state by not having any knowledge of this ecosystem. But for you, what has been the most valuable takeaway?
Just that there's no reason to be scared of death, I guess, or scared of things that you don't know, and to stop and stop and smell the roses type thing. I moved to the city from Shreveport, and you know that Shreveport is kind of suburban. It's pretty kind of spread out, whatever. And moving to the city, there was so much concrete, and at first it was a lot. I was used to being able to go out to my dad's or go out fishing or whatever else, or 4-wheeler riding or whatever. And it was a different environment for me. And I realized that I missed, even if I didn't spend a whole lot of time in nature as a general rule when I lived there, except for as a kid, mm-hmm. I missed it. And so I would find myself going to City Park and just sitting in the wooded area and just having to kind of take that in. And then I started gardening and stuff like that too, and just reconnecting with nature in that way. And it made me feel close to my state. It made me feel close to my family, and also introducing people that had maybe never seen those things or thought about them, even though they were surrounded by them all the time.
Taking a moment to just look at something new that's been there. Something old. Sorry. Look at something new that is really old. Yeah.
Yeah. And all these like organic things that were just around us. And, I don't know, finding beauty in the things that are unloved sometimes or forgotten. And
I think that's an extremely valuable takeaway. And I can see how doing that really helped you grow and improve as an artist. I think that's incredible. A minute ago, we were talking about the unexpected. And so you always deal with the unexpected with your work. But I want to ask you, what is something that you did expect? What did you want from your work?
I wanted to feel some control over my destiny, I guess, in a way. Like,
it's fair. Totally fair.
I wanted to be able to make my own decisions because there are things that I want to do. Because like, my son is now, of age to do his own thing. So, like, I can kind of travel and do these other things again.
You got your life back.
Yes. I decided that my sanity and my happiness was worth more than money, and the experiences in my life were worth more than I could not do monotony. I could feel when I was working in a long time monotonous job, like just something dying. And like, we all say that, we hear that, whatever, but I had a very unique opportunity to be able to do something about it. And that's not to say that the times aren't still rough here and there. Like, nothing is all peaches and cream.
Of course.
But I could happily say that all of the things that I had in my life I earned with my own two hands, and the experiences in my life, I had decided to forge those for myself, and every day wasn't going to be exactly the same anymore. Like, people measure success in different degrees, and for me, I feel successful because I forged what I am doing and I am happy with my life. And even though it is unconventional to some, it is fulfilling for me. And so that is successful, whether it be monetary or not.
I absolutely agree. And me personally, knowing you, for anyone listening that knows you, and for those who don't, you are not mundane. You are anything but mundane.
Calling me boring would probably be the worst insult I could ever get in my whole life.
Well, moving along here, after you shared all this amazing stuff with us, and I love your optimism, the positive attitude you put out there, the way you like to create and work with other people and share that love of art. What's your drive? What motivates you, Frances?
To be honest, happiness. I spent a lot of years when I was much younger making some poor life decisions, and I did not think about the future because it was not something that I thought was going to exist. And then after I had my son, obviously giving up was not a option. So I started to build from there, and then once fairy things started, and then I am very blessed to have a really amazing network of people in my life that really care about me, and people that care about my artwork too, and just in general. And I have found a degree of happiness in my life that I never thought was possible. And so it feels really surreal, and I feel like I should be grateful. I feel like I'm afforded a lot of opportunities as far as being able to be my own boss, having jobs that I love, having a son who's a great kid, having a community that's amazing and supportive. And so I feel like staying humble and also just trying to be grateful is a big drive for me. Realizing that the coping mechanisms that I've put in for my life now are amazing, and I should continue to do that and just try to give back to.
I think that's beautiful. And, I was going to ask you if there's any advice or something you'd like to say to anyone out there looking to do what you do. And I feel like if they haven't been listening, they must have not heard what you've been telling them. But please, do you have anything you'd like to share for anyone out there that wants to do what you do, that wants to be an artist?
Yes. Ask questions. Ask so many questions. Don't be scared to ask questions, no matter what it's about. If it's about how to start your business, or if you're into taxidermy, like I was saying, people sent me so many resources. Ask questions. And if there are people that you ask those questions to that don't want to answer your questions or are shitty about it or whatever else, ask somebody else. Ask somebody else. Ask me. And if I don't know what it is, I'll send you somewhere else. We are all in this together. We're all spinning on this little planet together. So ask questions. Don't be scared. Like, make that shirt that you want to make. Wear that green lipstick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, do whatever it is that makes your heart happy, because that is going to make your life more fulfilling in the long run. And ask questions. Be bold.
Absolutely. I love it. Frances, I'm so glad you came on today. Thank you so much for sharing your personal journey, your experience, your ups and downs, the challenges, and how you just don't give a fuck and push right through. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much. And again, this is my favorite part, because even though you've been talking this whole time, I'm turning this over to you once more. Put yourself out there. Where can we find you? How can people reach out if they do have questions? If they want to buy some of your artwork? I know you have a small online presence, but please plug yourself.
Absolutely. I am on Facebook under Handmade Fairy Things. I'm on Instagram under Just Fairy Things. I am on TikTok under Fairy Things as well. If you are in the local area, or actually some of the places I'm carried ship me as well. You can find me at Dark Matter Oddities and Artisan Collective. You can find me at Miette, which is on Magazine. They're also online.
And don't worry, folks, there will be spellings in the show notes. I promise. I know not all of you are familiar with these Cajun words.
You can also have found me at feelthebite.com for Boutique de Vampire. Time Bomb Curio and Curiosities in Colorado. I'm pretty sure they have an online shop as well. Also, their tattoo artists are amazing. Yeah, it's like, and I do lots. I'm always posting on Facebook if I'm going to be out in the wild too. So, like, if you're in the area and you want to come to a market or something, I do post when I'm going to be out vending as well.
Okay, excellent. And we are posting this episode on Mardi Gras, Big Ol' Fat Tuesday, but in the state of New Orleans, in the state of Louisiana, down in New Orleans, Mardi Gras goes on for 2 to 3 months and practically all year. But if you're in the area, please stop into these shops. Check out Frances. Say hi to Frances if you're around Boutique de Vampire.
Come say hi to me. I love it when people come say hi to me.
Support her and the other amazing artists when you're in the area. You won't find better artwork. You won't find better food. That's for damn sure.
That's right.
Hit them up. Say hi. And as always, laissez bon temps rouler. Frances, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I just want to say to my listeners out there, I appreciate y'all tuning in and listening, and I hope you found some inspiration. If you didn't, then you just weren't listening. Until next time, everyone, stay golden. Thanks for tuning in to IPA Sessions. To help support this podcast, please rate and review, and click that subscribe button to follow for new bi-weekly episodes. And if you're an independent artist out there looking to promote your work or yourself, please reach out to me via social media at IPA Sessions on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You can also reach out to me via email at ipasessionspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and I hope you felt inspired.